All the cool kids these days are talking about a brand new game called XDefiant. They're saying it's going to be the Call of Duty Killer, and that's a pretty big claim. I played it every single day for 2 weeks. And here are my thoughts. To start, the claim Call of Duty Killer is a term that people are using, and honestly, Call of Duty isn't going anywhere for a long time. They make way too much money. I think what people are looking for in XDefiant is something to rival that multiplayer experience without all the BS that comes with Modern Warfare, Black Ops, and of course, Warzone. And XDefiant honestly does a pretty good job at that. When you jump into the game for the first time, you're presented with a pretty minimal UI. There's a battle pass that, in all honesty, I wouldn't consider worth buying just yet. As with Call of Duty, you can go preview some of the rewards. This skin, or camo if you'd rather, it looks pretty cool, but it's one of the very few eye-catching ones, and I think they'll need to level up their game here if their business model is based around microtransactions. Same with the character skins too. Some are cool and the actual models are pretty sweet, but there's nothing that stands out about the skins themselves. The game has only just been released, so if you jump in early enough, you'll unlock some double weapon XP boosters and a little pack of artwork and whatnot, which is a nice little touch. So, what separates this game from Call of Duty are the factions, and these factions are based on previous Ubisoft titles: Tom Clancy's Division, Ghost Recon, Far Cry, Splinter Cell, and Watch Dogs. Each faction has their own abilities, which will happen naturally throughout the game. They also have 2 unique abilities that you can use in-game, kind of like special power type things, and 1 ultra ability. Most of these are pretty cool and unique, and we'll dive into those in a minute. You can buy X coins, which my ex took all of my coins. You can actually unlock the DedSec faction using these, which is the only faction locked at the beginning of the game, or you can grind out 700,000 XP. My mission for this video is to grind all the way to unlocking it and see how long it takes and whether or not it's actually worth the grind or whether you should just kind of skip ahead. Finally, you'll arrive at a weapon customization screen, and it feels weird saying this, but it's so basic and simple, and I love that. After years of weird changes and hundreds of attachments in Call of Duty, this feels really nice. You can have up to 5 attachments per gun. You can pick one, throw it on, see how much of a difference it makes, and you'll unlock new attachments pretty much every single time you level up. That's it. And I will say that a lot of these attachments actually make your gun feel very different, so you're going to want to play around with the most of these and see which works best for your playstyle. Oh, and to unlock new guns, you're going to need to complete some challenges, but nothing is hard to get, really. You could probably unlock every single gun in the game within a couple of hours, and there's nothing really that's behind a paywall, which is very unlike Ubisoft, but it's pretty cool. Okay, that's it for the UI and the basic functions of the game. Let's go ahead and test out some of the weapons and faction abilities in some actual gameplay. So I started off by playing as the Cleaners faction, and they have 2 main abilities, first of which is the Incinerator drone, which kind of speaks for itself. It's a drone that flies forward and incinerates things. I'm also going to start by going through the default weapon classes, the first of which is the M4A1 assault rifle, and honestly, not only did the weapon feel good, but the gameplay as a whole felt way better than I was expecting. Now, admittedly, I was a little bit rusty because I had gotten more into Fortnite over the last couple of months than I had been into Call of Duty, but as I started playing this game, I started getting all the nostalgia from like Modern Warfare 2 and those kind of gameplay elements. Like the movement felt really good. It didn't feel like too much where you're dolphin diving or sliding and jumping everywhere. It just felt natural. And don't get me wrong, you do still have to pay attention to your cover and certain movement elements and things like that, but it never felt like I had to be an absolute tryhard to be able to keep up with all the other players, because the coolest part is about XDefiant is that these lobbies right here aren't based on SBMM. It really made me feel like the weapons in this game had their own benefits and their drawbacks, which is something that Call of Duty kind of lost in recent years. It was more just focusing on whichever gun was the meta at that time. And as for the factions, the first ability that I tried, which is the drone, felt really cool. If you time it correctly, you'll pretty much always be able to get a one-hit kill. If not, you can kind of leave a trail of flames that will inflict damage, and that's super fun to use. For round 2, we're sticking with the Cleaners, selecting the Firebomb ability, and also switching over to the SMG. Now, typically I'm a really fast-paced player, so SMGs are my go-to, my bread and butter, and this is where I started noticing some weird issues. issues, right? So the MP5A2, which is the default SMG class weapon thing, it kind of sucked. Like, in comparison to everybody else, my bullets were just not doing enough damage. I like the increased movement speed and the faster ADS and things like that, but the weapon itself just didn't feel good to use. Some of the SMGs you unlock later on, again, they have varying abilities, benefits, and drawbacks. But the issue that I have is that you have to use this crappy weapon in order to unlock the good ones, and using the MP5A2 it was just miserable. The Firebomb ability was a bit of a weird one as well, right? So rather than a typical Molotov where you throw it at an enemy and then it ignites and that's it, you have to throw it at the ground on your position to be able to take out a bunch of enemies if they're surrounding you. The issue, and I don't know if it's just because I started playing early and people weren't like playing objectives and things like that, but it was just so hard to actually get a kill because by the time you got close to an enemy, you were dead. So one thing I did like from the gameplay that you're watching now is this map, right? I can't remember the name of it, but it's like this London, New York City kind of vibe. And it's not just a surface layer where you're running from building to building. There's a whole underground area, which is really cool. You've got these like little construction areas which you can run up and then shoot people from a higher vantage point. So it's multi-lanes and it's also multi-layered as well. Whoever designed these maps did a absolutely fantastic job. Alright, so now we're switching over to the Pahtoms faction. And these guys are really cool because they have two primary abilities that are focused on defense. The first one I tried out was the mag barrier alongside an LMG, which is a pretty cool combination, to be honest. The LMG felt pretty good. I haven't tried many of the other ones, so I can't really compare it the way that I did with the ARs or the SMGs, but the damage felt really, really good. It felt like it was correct. However, it did come at a cost of extra recoil, which isn't a big deal. It's to be expected with an LMG class. Something that I did notice when using the LMG is that your movement speed, like it's not just a small little difference anymore. Like I found that if I wanted to get from one side of the map to the other, particularly if I'm playing escort missions where you have like a 20-second run just to get back to the objective every time you die, I would have to switch to my pistol rather than running safely with an LMG, just because it would honestly take me 2 if not 3 times longer while wielding a different weapon. So that's something to keep in mind. The mag shield ability is by far one of my favorites in the game. It allows you to shoot out at enemies, and if enemies shoot at you, your shield absorbs all of that damage. The other ability that comes with this faction is a riot shield kind of thing, and it's not bad. It's just when you compare it to the mag barrier where you can shoot through it, okay, the riot shield thing is portable, but at the same time, it's like I have to run up to enemies and bash them in the face to be able to do any damage. I think I would use this a lot more if there was an option to like whip out a pistol and use that instead of running up to people. Like I say, it's not bad, it just, I think it could be improved. The shotgun I was using alongside the shield, however, the M870, whoo-wee, damn, this thing was an absolute beast. The coolest thing with XDefiant is that even when you're using a shotgun like the M870, it feels great to use, it does a good amount of damage, but it never feels like you're going to absolutely dominate a lobby. Like the range is pretty limited and it's pretty hard to get a one-hit kill. It's fun, but it's not ridiculously overpowered and you're not going to ruin the game for anybody else. Okay, so now we're onto the Libertad faction, which is based on Far Cry, one of my favorite series, and the abilities are kind of mid. So whoever chooses to play as this faction will be a healer, and you'll be given a little canister thing you can either spray and it will heal people within a vicinity near you, or you can throw down this little healing thing on the floor and it will heal people within a certain area, but it won't move. Now, you have two issues when it comes to healing factions in this game, right? So you die so quickly. It's very rare that a firefight will last longer than a second or two, so being able to heal people up, it seems kind of pointless. Yes, you could heal them after the fight, but then you run into another issue, which is that each of these abilities take between 30 to 40 seconds to reload, and you only heal the other person for 5 to 10 seconds. So okay, you can get everybody in your team back to full health, but then you're immediately in another firefight and you just die because you have to wait for the ability to recharge. So one way I feel like you could balance the Libertad faction with all of the others who have really cool abilities is to reduce the cooldown time so that you actually feel like you have an objective healing other people and you're not just randomly doing it every time you respawn. As I played as this class, I was testing out some of the sniper rifles, and here's the thing, right? Without any attachments, the sniper rifles honestly suck. If you're into quick scoping and things like that, it's really hard to use, not only because the scopes are a little bit weird, but also the ADS absolutely sucks. However, However, I didn't get footage of it, but there are multiple attachments that I've kind of used by stealing other people's weapons when they've been on the ground. And if you have the right stuff on your gun, and there are plenty of tutorials out there to teach you how to make the best class, the sniper rifles in this game are so fun and so pleasing to use. If you miss the original like Modern Warfare 2 intervention kind of vibes, this gives you that sense of a run and gun sniper build. It's so fun. It's just actually unlocking everything that's going to be the pain in the backside. Then you have the Marksman rifles, and just don't use them, okay? Maybe I was put off personally from the default class, and there's some secret weapon that's amazing and I don't know about it, but it's just so hard to use these when everybody else is taking you out in like half a second flat using an SMG. The Marksman rifles are probably the worst of the bunch, and I feel like it's mostly a damage issue. Like if you compare using a Marksman to an LMG or an SMG, you're gonna get flatlined, okay? It didn't feel good to use, and if I'm wrong, somebody correct me in the comments, but I just, no. Okay, so the penultimate faction is Echelon, and these guys have two really cool abilities. First of which is the digital Ghilli suit, which makes you pretty much invisible unless they put their crosshairs over your character and see your name tag. Anyway, other than that, it's pretty cool. Then second, we have the Intel suit, and this is really cool. Again, this is like probably my second favorite next to the mag barrier. It highlights the position and movement of enemies through all walls in a certain distance, and it lasts for a decent amount of time as well. So if you're playing objectives, you can really get an advantage on all of the enemies nearby. I think if I had to select my top 3 abilities so far, mag barrier would be my favorite. The Intel suit would be a close second, followed shortly by the Incinerator drone thing, just because it makes it really easy to get kills. And while I was testing out the Echelon faction, I actually tried out every single pistol in the game. The M9 is probably one of my favorites. It's just your standard pistol, decent amount of damage, good recoil control. The D50 is XDefiant's equivalent of the Desert Eagle, and it's pretty fun to use, but in comparison to the Magnum that you unlock later on, it's not quite as good, and also the recoil on this thing is absolutely crazy. The M1 1911 feels very similar to the M9, to the point where I can't really distinguish which is better. I think the M1 1911 has slightly more damage, but also has a smaller mag, so that's up to you to decide, I suppose. The 93R is an incredibly fun weapon, probably my favorite secondary in the game. It's a 3-round burst rapid fire pistol, and damage wise I would say it's actually comparable to an SMG so long as you actually hit your mark. And then finally we have the 6.86 Magnum, which is just super fun. The recoil takes a while to control, but you can attach grips and things to kind of help with that. But damage wise, it's typically, as long as you're hitting from the chest up, it's a 2-hit kill, which as a secondary gun is so nice to have. So at this point in the video, I should probably say that I have been grinding for DedSec for I want to say about 10 to 15 hours, and I don't even think I was halfway there. And I admit I'm far from the best player in the world. The experience of trying all these guns and factions had been fun, but 700,000 XP felt like it was going to take an eternity. My objective for each day that I was playing was just to get 100,000 XP, and that in itself was one hell of a mission. Things like this I would love to see improved upon in the way that Fortnite have done their daily bonuses. You get 3 big amounts of XP for each daily quest that you complete. So you get 15,000 for the first one, and then 10,000 for the second, and 5,000 for the third. Everything after that is a smaller amount, but you feel like you're constantly being rewarded. In XDefiant, however, it feels very different, because as soon as you've completed your 3 daily objectives, the only other thing really that you have to do are the challenges to unlock new skins, and that takes a really long time. As an example for this, I think in total it took me like 20-25 hours to unlock a DedSec, which you could probably do a lot quicker if you tried harder than I did. But in that time, 20 to 25 hours, I unlocked 2 skins by doing the cleaners objectives, the cleaners challenges. Okay, thank you for not making me pay for it, but that is that's a big amount of time for like 1 unlock in the game. And like I said, there are no other challenges to do, so that's all you're really working towards besides the battle pass if you choose to pay for it. But all the footage you're watching now is just stuff that I captured in between the last segment, the last faction, and grinding my backside off to try and unlock DedSec. And it gave me a really wonderful appreciation for this game. Like, XDefiant has the potential, I think, not to be a Call of Duty killer, but instead to be an incredible standalone game that offers an experience similar to Call of Duty. It feels like COD in the sense of the gunplay and the map design and things like that. It feels like the old COD that everybody used to love, but it also has so many elements that make it unique and make it its own thing. Those elements are strong enough to make it stand out as its own game, which I think is brilliant. That's exactly what we need right now. When I finally unlocked DedSec, I don't want to say I was underwhelmed, but I was expecting something big for like 700,000 XP, you know what I mean? One of the abilities you get is hijack, so you can actually go up to other people's mag barriers or whatever, and you can take over that shield or that device, whatever the ability is, and you can control it, which is awesome, but the only ability you can really use that on is the barrier, and I don't know, that one felt kind of underwhelming. And then you have this other ability where you can control like a little spider bot thing, and that wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting, like in Call of Duty, you can control drones and things like that and actually drive them, or RC cars. That's not what this is. You literally throw it on the floor and pray to God that it goes towards the right enemy and distracts them for long enough. Wasn't massively impressed with this one either. Like, it's cool to finally unlock it, and it does come with some fancy looking skins and stuff like that, but ultimately, is it worth the grind? I don't think so. I think if you're in a position where you can just go ahead and buy it and you really genuinely want to invest in this game, then give it a go, but I definitely wouldn't encourage you to sit and grind this thing out hoping for some big unlock at the end of it, because you're going to be kind of disappointed. But there we have it, XDefiant. Is it a good game? Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it, and I think I would much rather prefer to play this than Call of Duty, but it is very bare bones, and yes, it's just been released and things like that, but I just think that Ubisoft need to be very careful about how they deal with this transition and how they add new features into the game, because people are going to be very picky about what changes they're happy with. That's all for now. Let me know what you think of XDefiant. If you want to see more content on it, let me know. We typically do RPGs and guides, tutorials and stuff here, but I figured I'd try something new, mostly because I just wanted to play this and I wanted to get a hit of the old Call of Duty that I loved, and quite frankly, I feel like I got that. So great job, Ubisoft. Thank you everybody for watching today's video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. I love your faces. You're amazing. You're beautiful. And I will catch you in the next one.